I love him. I love him and his precious wife. So thankful that God put them here at the POLC in the Loranger community. Y'all have to just understand that. We have somebody that actually wrote us a rap song for our church. We'll play it for you one day. Praise the Lord. Brother Danny, come deliver what God gave you.
God bless you. And I love each and every one of y'all and appreciate my pastor. Let's give our pastor and first lady a good hand clap. We got the best, don't we? And Brother Jonathan, I apologize that you're going to have to put up with me today. But Sister Michelle does normally teach this part of our Sunday mornings, and she's a way better teacher than me, so come back, okay? And then you got to come back here, Pastor, too. And but anyway, today I had a message and a topic I was going to talk on. I had everything ready to roll and had it already typed up. And Friday night, the Lord said, put that one on the back burner. I said, okay, Jesus. So I was up about till 1 o'clock in the morning Friday, and the Lord spoke this to me. But years ago, I want to play just a little commercial. It's just a sound clip with a still picture because it was actually a radio commercial for Toys R Us, and some of you will remember this commercial. And I hope it affects you the same way it affected me. The first time I heard it, and every time I hear it, it affects me. Can we play the sound clip or the video?
Want some? You know where to get it. Toys R Us. The one place that's all for them.
But anyway, I remember where I was the first time I heard that commercial. I was working. I was a lot younger then. I was in my 20s, and I was a lot thinner then. And I was working, and every lunch hour we would sit, because we was wiring houses, and we just sat in the work van and ate, and my boss would always play the radio. And that commercial come on one day, and the first time I heard it, I was dying laughing in the van, and my poor boss probably thought I'd lost my scruples. But every time that we would hear that, no matter how bad my day was, I couldn't help but smile, at least smile or laugh. So I want to read to you from Psalms 137, and we're going to read 1 through 4. It says, by the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, we wept when we remembered Zion. We hung our harps upon the willows in the midst of it. For there those who carried us away captive asked of us a song, and those who plundered us requested myrrh, saying, sing us one of the songs of Zion. How shall we sing the Lord's songs in a foreign land? And then in Psalms 30:5, it simply says this, for his anger endureth but a moment, in his favor is life. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. And I remember standing at the funeral, standing by the back door, and my mom's one of her close friends, Kay, her son Chip, had decided to take his life. And she said some words that have stuck with me through all the years, because me and Chip was about the same age. He was 21 at that point, and I was in that area. And she wept and she cried as she hugged my mom. But I will never forget, Brother Pepper, her words that she spoke. She said, Cynthia, she said, it hurts me that he's gone. She said, but the part that I can't take and the part that is killing me is that he died thinking there was no hope and life could never get any better. So today I want to speak to you simply. You will smile again. Look at your neighbor and say, you will smile again. There's an old song. Remember the Sunday school song? Smile a while and give your face a rest. Raise your hands to the one you love the best. Turn around to someone new. Shake their hand and just smile. And if you don't mind, let's take about 2 minutes. Go around, shake somebody's hand, give them a compliment. Tell them how good they look today. And smile. Smile while you're doing it. Let's smile. Brother Dale, you're looking good, man. Looking like GQ. As always, brother. How you doing? Brother Josh, you doing all right, my brother? It's a good way to talk. You look like GQ. Hey, yeah. But I'm hoping people smile. Because sometimes we get so low down with life, we don't do it when we smile. Tell your neighbor, you will smile again. You will smile again. You looking good, sister. Looking good. Dear Lord, we just read that weeping endure for the night. You see, it can't rain for always. Eventually, the clouds will have to part and give way to the light of day. Can I remind you that the beautiful garden that you've seen in the sunshiny days still exists during the pouring rain? It's just harder to see. And believe it or not, one day the sun will pop out and those same roses you've seen yesterday are still blooming today in the midst of your storm. The storm may have been long, the trial brutal, but let your heart not be troubled. You will smile again. The song we sing is put it so beautifully. It says, slow down, take time, breathe in. He said he would reveal what's to come. The thoughts in his mind's always higher than mine. He'll reveal all to come. Take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. Hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. Sing praise, my soul. Find strength and joy. Let his words lead you on. Do not forget his great faithfulness. I like this line. He will finish all he's begun. And I'd like to add a little line here that says, so take courage, my child. You will smile again. He's never failing. There was a young lady by the name of Ruth Lowe. And she was born in Toronto on August the 12th of 1914. And this is her right here. You can see her. She was... there wasn't a wealthy family. They were in Canada, but her father was from the U.S. Her mother was from Canada. And they lived in Toronto for a little while she was a child, a baby. And finally they decided they would move to California. So they moved on to California, bringing her, and later that she would have a little sister. But while they were there, her dad opened up a grocery business. And as luck would have it, it was right in the middle of the Depression. So he went there with great expectations and great hopes, but the business failed. They lost everything. and his only choice was to return back to Toronto. The only thing that they had left that they did not lose was a piano that Ruth and her sister had learned to play on. So he was determined he would keep the piano because his children loved music so much. And they returned to Canada with nothing but their clothes and a piano. So it wasn't long after they returned that her father passed away unexpectedly. So she was 15, but by the time she was 16, she would have to quit school, drop out of school, and take a job because the ends just weren't being met. So Ruth took a job at what they called a song shop. And what she would do was these people would push their music, and she would take the sheet music and play it for all these like publicists and all these people that printed sheet music. And if they liked it, they would purchase it. And even people that just wanted to buy sheet music could come. If they liked it, they could buy that sheet music. And so she done that. And then she would also take like nightclubs, anything she could to make money, to try to help her mom and her sister and make ends meet. And she would write songs and she would push, but to no avail. She could. The only thing that seemed like was going to be her great big breakthrough, there was a sort of a popular group that took her up as a piano player, and it was an all-female band, and they would tour the whole country. And so she kept touring and touring. Finally, as luck would have it, she met a guy. He was a music publicist. His name was Harold Cohen. And they said that whenever Ruth and Harold met, they said it was a whirlwind romance. Said it was like Cinderella and Prince Charming come to life. Said they were crazy. They were actually crazy in love. They were like the poster child for the happy couple. And so finally they were married, and they said that she was just crazy in love. So a year into their marriage, that doesn't say what it was, but there was a simple procedure that Harold had to have. And they rushed him into surgery. And even though it was supposed to be a simple surgery, something went horribly wrong. And only a year after being married, she lost the love of her life. And they said that Ruth went into a total depression and said she was angry with God. And she said she couldn't understand how God, if he was so loving, why would he allow the two greatest men of her life to be taken way before their time? She became very bitter. And there said she fought depression terribly. But she said she recalls one day, she said, I was in the pits of despair. She said, I really thought life was not worth living anymore. She walked over to the piano and she began to play. And she said, I began to write a song. The name of the song was I'll Never Smile Again. She penned these words, and she said that as she played and the words come, she said it was like a river had busted through the walls of a dam. She said it was just flooding through me. And she penned, I'll never smile again until I smile at you. I'll never laugh again. What good would it do? For tears would fill my eyes. My heart would realize that our romance is through. I'll never love again. I'm just so in love with you. I'll never thrill again to somebody new within my heart. I know I will never start to smile again until I smile at you. Within my heart, I know I'll never start to smile again until I'm smiling at you. Though Ruth felt certain at that point that she would never smile again, and she said she honestly believed that her life was through, she would go on to smile again. You see, there was a big band leader by the name of Tommy Dorsey. She had made a sample of her song and was sending it out, and Tommy Dorsey happened to hear it. And he was like one of the most famous band leaders at the time. It was the era during the big band era, should I say. And he heard the song and he fell in love with it. And so he calls Ruth up and he says, Ruth, he said, I tell you what, he said, we have a new guy that's he's fixing to make his first recording, and this dude can sing. I think he could really do this song justice, and I think it'll be a good song for him if you would consider letting him record it. So she goes and she says, well, I'll meet y'all at the studio. So Ruth goes down to the studio, and there she meets this newcomer to music. His name was Frank Sinatra. He fell in love with the song. He said at first, the song was sort of eerie. He said, but then he said I was enraptured in it by the time that it was through. So Frank Sinatra recorded I'll Never Smile Again. And it would be his first number one hit for the year of 1941. And he liked the song so much that he took her on and wanted to write for him exclusively. And she began to write most of his hits was written by Ruth. And she became very successful. She would finally find a second chance at love. She found Mr. Nate Sandler. They were married. They had several children. And she lived out a full life, successful and happy life. And Ruth passed away on January the 4th of 1981 at the age of 66. In 1982, her 1940s I'll Never Smile Again received an honorary Grammy. And in 2003, she was inducted into the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame. It was said that when she penned the words, I'll never smile again, she really believed it with all her heart. But with God's healing in time, those words were far from truth. She indeed would smile again. And she said that she learned the deeper the valley, the greater the mountaintop experience. Out of her darkest day came her brightest future. She testifies to all, no matter how bleak or drear, you may not see it now or even believe, but yes, my child, you'll smile again. Today your situation looks dim, but as sure as the darkness gives way today, my friend, hold on, you'll smile again. In our opening reading, we learned that the children of God had been taken captive and imprisoned in Babylon, and all that they declared was, how can we sing a song when we're held here in bondage? Our hearts are just too broken. We have lost it all. We surely will never smile again. They said they could have beaten Ruth with the punchline, I'll never smile again. I can sing my song. I can't sing a song in this mess. I will just have to hang my harp on the willow. In the text, we see a group of people hurt, crushed, and depressed, exiled away from the comforts of Jerusalem to a strange land by the Tigris and Euphrates River. These are people who were accustomed to praising and playing their harps. Now the Israelites have hung their harps on the branches of a willow tree. But notice about this story, they hung their harps in the willows. Willows grow where there is water. It was not a desert place. It was a place they could have survived. They could have been content. It just wasn't what they were used to. It was a strange place, a different place. It was a new place. When asked to sing the Lord's song, they replied, how can we sing in a strange land? It wasn't that they weren't capable. The desire had gone. The craving to praise the Lord had been replaced, and they decided to simply hang the harps upon the willow. They were saying, we don't like where we are. We don't like what is happening to us. We have lost our song and we refuse to sing. The one thing that comforts me about them hanging their harps upon the willow is, thank God they didn't destroy it. Because somewhere in their hearts they had to know, I'm not singing today, but I'm not going to destroy the heart, because one day I will sing again. One day I will smile again. I may not understand where I'm walking today. I may not understand what God's put me in. But I'm here to tell you, I have faith that God will bring me out. He has brought us out. We've come this far by faith, the old song says. I I will not destroy the harp, because one day I will sing again, and one day I will smile again. They didn't destroy the harps. They placed them where they could get to them. So I feel like in their minds they had to know this is not a permanent thing. I will praise again, I will sing again, but most of all, I will smile again. Somebody say, I will smile again. The Bible tells us for 70 years they were in captive, but victory did come. After 70 years, they picked up their hearts and headed back to the place that they longed for so long. Your valley may seem like it's lasting forever, but be of good cheer. Let not your heart be troubled. One day you will pick up your harp and you will sing again and you will smile again. Don't destroy the heart. Don't even hang them on the willow. You're going to make it. You're going to sing again. You're going to smile again. Can I tell some children of God, don't hang your harp on the willow. Get the harp back down. Tune the strings, because your last song has not been sung yet. God gave me a song, and I refuse to stop singing. He gave me a song that even the angels cannot sing. And I'm not about to stop now, because in 2 Corinthians 4:8-9 it says, we are troubled on every side, yet not distressed. We are perplexed, but not despaired. Prosecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed. Daniel kept singing in the lion's den. The Hebrew children kept singing in the fiery furnace. They kept singing their song. Job sang even though he lost it all. But Paul kept singing even though he faced stripes. He faced prisons. He was beaten with rods. He was stoned. He was shipwrecked. He was robbed. He hungered. He thirsted. He was cold. He was naked. He was weary and had pains. But he kept on singing. He never put his harp on the willow, because he said, I'll keep singing because I know this is but a fleeting moment. And one day I'm going to come out of this. So I'll just keep on singing through the storm. Could it been that the children of Israel could have learned, instead of hanging their harps up? Too bad they couldn't have went to the two guys. There was two men that found themselves imprisoned, locked up, looked like the end. But I have to believe one of them looked around and said, you know what? God's been too good for me to sit down on him right now. Let's just start praying. So they started walking around the jail cell just praying a little bit. And then before you know it, they broke out into some hymns. Somebody starts, I've got a feeling everything's going to be all right. And about the midnight hour, the ground began to shake. And before you know it, Paul and Silas stepped out of that prison. Too bad the children of Israel couldn't have learned that and could have took down their harps. Because keep on singing your song even while you're in the prison. Don't give up. You're going to smile again. You're coming out of this. Let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Yes, it may be rough today, but if I'm faithful, I will smile again. Even if I don't taste the victory on this side, if I am faithful, I'll stand on Jordan's side with my hands held high, and I will smile again. For it's in Micah 7:8, it says, rejoice not against me, O mine enemy. When I fall, I shall arise. When I sit in darkness, the Lord shall be a light unto me. And then here's one for you. Sounds familiar? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. I like, whenever he said that, he started out, the Lord. Nobody but God. There was one. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. He was saying, enemy, I know I'm going through some junk right now. I know I'm in a mess. He said, but it won't last always. It won't always be this way. I promise you, enemy, I'm going to smile again. I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and my staff, they comforted me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, and my cup, it just runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. If I just hold out, if I don't hang up my harp on the willow, I win, and I will smile again. Come on, say, I'm going to smile again. You see, to everything there is a season. Ecclesiastes 3, 1 through 8 says this. To everything there is a season and a time, to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace. We will embrace the beauty of spring. We breathe it in its brisk breeze, and we listen to the song that the birds announce that spring has come. I remember as a child, I loved the smell of gardenia. And I don't know if it's because I love it or if it smells like my childhood. Some of you are old enough to remember this. But whenever I would wake up and spring had finally really came, I would wake up and feel the warm breeze blowing through my room. Because my mom would take and she would open every window and every door in the house. And how many of you is old enough to remember this? Back in the old days, every house had an attic fan in the hallway. And my mom, I'd hear that, and it sounded like a Freightliner coming through the hallway. But that thing would, I don't know if it was it or if the breeze was really blowing that strong, but I think it helped suck the air through. So the breeze was kicking. And she'd have that attic fan going, and she'd be spring cleaning. And I would sit there and I could watch the curtains dance as the breeze blow. The sun was shining through my room. And I knew that the breeze of spring had blown through. But the telltale sign that spring was really come, Sister Kim, was if I took in a deep breath. For in the kitchen, across from the window where the sink was a huge gardenia bush. And whenever all the windows was open and that attic fan was going, the whole house smelled like perfume. It smelled like the gardenia bush. And oh, I love it. I just sit there. And I knew that spring had really come. It was beautiful. I'd go out there, pick flowers, and enjoy the smell. But then time would go on. Summer, the cool breeze would turn a little bit hotter. And my favorite part of summer was school was out. I was like, yes. But the heat was something to be reckoned with. And I was a chunky kid. I know you can't believe that. But I did, whenever I grew up, and in my 20s, I was skinny, but that didn't last long. But anyway, but it did happen. So summer heat was sort of made the summer long, but it was awesome getting to play with my friends. And we weren't like kids nowadays. We didn't have the indoor games, the PlayStations. Our days were spent outside playing in the woods. And then Mom and Dad would have to holler and scream for us to come in after dark because we didn't want to come in. And they'd have to threaten our lives. And I always knew how serious they were. If Mom come to the door and she said, Danny, come on in now. I was like, okay, I got about 10, 15 more minutes, maybe 30. But whenever she got to my full name, I knew I better get my hide up in the house because it's fixing to get real. So I would push it to that till she said my full name, and then it was on. So I'd head to the house back at that point. But then summer, all of a sudden, the breeze would sort of get cooler, and the leaves would change. And I remember in our yard, I don't even know what kind of tree it was, Mom. I don't know if you remember, but there was some tree, and it had leaves on it all year long. But the only difference was it would change colors. It might be red, it might be yellow, it could be green, but it was all different colors all year long. And it was a strange I don't know what kind of tree that was, but it was beautiful. We had people that would stop and take pictures of it. And but anyway, so the fall was there. The temperature it would start getting dark a little earlier, and so Mom and Dad's hollering would start a little bit earlier, and we'd have to come in a little bit earlier. But finally, it would get so cool that winter had moved in. It was now time for the coats, the sweaters, the little sock hats. And I looked, and the gardenia bush was dead. Now, what was so beautiful, with all its white flowers and its green leaves, its beautiful fragrance, was now nothing but a bunch of brown dead sticks. And winter was definitely not my favorite. And I would even question, I'm like, Lord, what is even the point of winter? I mean, we can't even go out there. Even when it's daylight sometimes, if it was too cold, we couldn't even go outside and play. And like, this is killing me being locked up in the house because, like I said, we didn't have all the CD players, the game stations. If you was in the house, you was pushing a Hot Wheel or a Tonka toy. And that's about the extent of your entertainment there. And so the green grass, and also on our property, we had a lot of pecan trees. But in the winter, even the green grass looked like brown sludge, especially if it rained. It seemed like the hand of winter had taken away everything that was beautiful. And all that was left was everything that was beautiful is now dead. The hand of winter moved in and claimed the life of all that I loved and held and thought was so gorgeous and so beautiful. And as a small child, I might have even wondered, is this the end? Will it always be this way? And I guess because I hated winter so long and so bad, it felt like winter was the longest season of all. It felt like winter lasted about 2 years by itself compared to the other seasons. And just when I was tired of being locked up in the house, just when I was tired of all the cold, miserable days, I woke up one day and I felt warmth on my chin and on my cheeks. I seen the curtains dancing again. I heard the attic fan moaning. And just to be sure I was on the right track, I took in a deep breath. It was the gardenia bush. I began to think, maybe winter wasn't as useless as I thought. Maybe winter is a season to test the endurance, the strength, the fight for the fittest. Because if we hold on, the gardenia bush had fought and struggled through all the cold winds of winter because it knew one day it would live again. It fought hard all winter long just because it knew one day I'm going to get a chance. One day I'm going to sprout some more flowers. One day my leaves will be green again. And one day my sweet perfume will fill that house again. If I'll just stand and fight these harsh winds that are trying to claim my life. So I'm here to tell you today, the harsh winds of winter come, and it seems like they last forever, but if you'll just be faithful, if you'll just hold on, I promise you, you will blossom again and you will smile again. The choir of the birds was back. The songs were being sung. And matter of fact, it seems as if the birds were singing a song that they had never sang before. I stood at the sink looking through the window, and there the gardenia bush was fully blossomed. Much like Ruth Lowe had felt, she said, I'll never smile again. Winter seemed to last just that long. Yes, life would never be the same, but then I awoke that day and smelled the gardenia once more, and I smiled again. I knew that day I would be able to go outside and play again. Spring had finally come. The smile that seemed dead and gone slowly painted itself across my face. I can't believe it. I thought it had all died. I had seen it. It was all lying there lifeless and void. Surely I'll never smile again was winter's song, but spring rebirth, all that was stolen by the hand of winter. Your winter season of life fills your heart with fear that it is all lost, but faint not. Seasons come and they go. You will smile again. The gardenia is only sleeping. With one touch of the Master speaking springs back its life. The perfume will fill the air again. Soldiers of the cross, be not weary. Weeping endures for the night, but joy is coming in the morning. He calls out, I see your tears. I know your hurts, your pains, and I see your scars. But as hard as it is to believe, my child, you will smile again. Right now, like Ruth, you're convinced yourself it will never get any better. I will surely never smile again, but trust me, child, just hold on. You will. I have a plan for you, and you will smile again. And in the most unexpected time and in the most unexpected season, my child, you will smile again. I will smile again, though the tears flow from my eyes. I will smile again. And trust tomorrow the sun shall rise, though darkness may enfold me. Though heavy rain can't help me but pour. Though shattered, lost, and broken, though heart could barely bear it all, though tired and weary and confused, though badly hurt and bruised, I know that I will smile again. I will smile again. So no matter where you're at today, I want to tell you, the cold wind will give way to the winds of spring. You will smile again. It won't last always, the dark clouds and the troubles and the trials, if you'll just be faithful and endure to the end. There's blessings in faithfulness. Be faithful in the winter, and spring will come. And if I could leave you with anything, I hope that you realize that no matter how dark your world seems, because Chip decided that he would never smile again. But my friend, God has a plan for you. He says, I know my thoughts for you. They're good. Just be faithful, my child. You will smile again.
Thank you, Brother Danny, for such an amazing word this morning. You just have to understand that this is not the way it's always going to be. This is just a passing through moment. They have now found that all of the seasons, if we did not have our 4 seasons, if you miss one season, you would be overrun by the insects, and you would not be able to stand and enjoy the moments of summertime. But it's through the process, and you have to understand who put this process into motion. He didn't miss whenever he put the 4 seasons in place. And he didn't miss when he put the 4 seasons in your own personal life. It's for a far greater work in you. And we understand that in 1 Corinthians 15 and 19, it says, if we had hope in this life only, we will be amongst men most miserable. So our hope is not in what the temporary moment. Don't get lost in your temporary season, because the season is going to change. The sun will shine again. I will smell the fragrance of a new blessing, of a new hope and a new life. Hallelujah. I was thinking of my dear friend, Pastor Paul, and just seeing the process that I've watched him go through in the last several days. And I got in the shower this morning, and immediately as I stepped into the shower, I felt this overwhelming voice, and it's so amazing, Brother Danny, you taught today. And here's what I felt very strongly. I called them up, and I told them what I felt that the Lord spoke to me. And they told me that this was not for despair, for destruction. It was not for This moment was not for destruction, despair, and discouragement, but this moment was preparing you. It was a preparing moment. Listen, saints of God, listen. If it had not been for some of those moments, some of those seasons, you would not be as strong as you are today. That moment that brought you through what you've had to walk through has prepared you for this new moment, this new season, this new opportunity. My God, I feel that here today. Don't get lost in a temporary moment, because it's a preparation for what God's about to do. Amen. As I told my dear friends, and last night, amen, there was an amazing transformation for my friend. And he got up this morning, amen, had total, all that he lost all the fluid that had been building up. Got up and shaved his own self this morning, walking around doing just absolutely amazing what God has been doing. And for that, we're thankful. You know, if anybody had an opportunity to ask God why this season, it had been my dear precious friends, Paul and Melinda Trentecost, walking through what they did. But I can promise you, this season was not for discouragement. This season was meant for preparation. Hallelujah. I read a story a long time ago, and I'll close. And the title was The Purpose of the Fire. Sometimes we don't like to have to go through seasons, Brother Danny. There was a wildfire that had burned most of California, and this was years and years ago. And that wildfire that had literally had burnt most homes, and it was a very difficult thing. But what they found was, after the fire, after the ash had finally blown, the wind had taken the ash, and all the deadness began to, the blackness of all the burnt items were on the ground, and began to somehow or another dissipate. They saw something that even the scientists were amazed. They found a plant, and it's been so long ago that I read this article that I don't remember it today, the name of the plant. But underneath the ground had been laying dormant a seed. And the only way the seed could be released to grow this amazing, beautiful plant that had not been seen in years, it took intense heat for it to break the outer core, the crust that was on this seed. And from the tragedy became something that had not been seen in a very long time. The purpose of the fire. Sometimes you don't realize it, but God knows what He's doing with your season. And it could be that He's bringing something out of you. It's not for discouragement. It's not for destruction. But it's for preparing you for something even greater. Don't get lost in your temporary. You're going to smile again. Amen. Thank you, Brother Danny, for such an amazing thought word this morning. Amen. I feel that in my heart this morning. I really do. I feel that for somebody here today. Amen. Hallelujah. Just get in the mirror and start practicing. Amen. You know, a sad look is just a smile that got turned upside down. Amen. If you got to stand on your head to get that smile back, then do it. Bless God. Amen. Let's break. We'll be back in here for 10:40.